welcome and welcome back to Vitu Vidogo. This is Cabaret Karaoke, all the way out here, in the sun, in a park in Toronto, Canada. Today, as you can see behind me, you can notice that the weather it's a bit cloudy. Well, this is not just any cloudy weather. We've been having those forest fires, and that is what you can see is the effect of the smokes coming from the forests all the way out there in a neighboring province, all the way Manitoba and Saskatchewan. They have been having serious forest fires, and these are like thousands of, more than 1,000 kilometers away of smoke. So you need to go and check. I have a program, an episode I have done there on winter, and I explained why you have these forest fires. So thanks to the smoke in this atmosphere right now, the air quality in Toronto right now is not good. So for people who have those respiratory problems, they are usually being advised, if you don't have anywhere to go, like you can just go stick in your house. Many houses right here, right now, maybe they have AC. And one thing about the AC, they have air filters. So they will be advised just to stay at home. Anyway, this smoky weather will not dull our season or our mood. We are still up here in summer. And boy, don't I have a show for you. Yes, I have been up and about, and I'm just going to share at least what I have been up to. Don't touch that dial. The first stop would be Center Island, Toronto Center Island. This is just an island that is off the lakefront of Toronto. So this island, how you access it is via the water taxis or the public ferry, and it ferries, call them Torontonians, or even visitors who come to Toronto and they just want to have a good time on this island. The thing about the island, it has this magical feel. It feels like you have just broken off from the complexities and the business of the city that Toronto is. Toronto has the skyscrapers. It has these formidable expressways. It has the subways. All this infrastructure. But the moment you get off the city and you get on that water taxi or the ferry and you go to the center island, just getting there, it changes. The atmosphere changes. You can feel like you have entered this, like you have transitioned into like a coastal town. You feel like a sense of like all the pressures, the bills, the taxes, you just put them aside and you forget for a moment where you are. So the center island is really pivotal, not only just for Torontonians, tourism, but also as a place where people go and enjoy themselves, and let go for a brief moment. So to access there, we have these water taxis, as I've said, and these water taxis are privately owned. Yes, there's also some that that belong to the city, like the big ferries. But these ones, privately owned, they get filled much faster, and they operate on a higher speed. So you'll have like maybe 10 or 15 people capacity. Beyond that, and you're gonna be like overloading it. But the larger ferries now, they can have hundreds of people on board. And usually, like when we went, I paid around like $13 to cross. And but on the way back, we were like, the bigger ferry now takes people back across for free. So of course that means longer queues, but hey, if it's for free, who's counting, right? So which reminds me, like a while back, I was in Dar es Salaam, and that's when I realized, oh, in Dar es Salaam, people pay for the ferry, to and fro. And then it depends. If you have a car, you're gonna pay some more. If you're just, a passenger, you're a pedestrian, then okay, you pay less, which is very different from their Kenyan counterparts. The Kenyan counterparts, Mombasa residents, they travel for free on the ferry, cross on both sides, you know, to and fro, they travel for free. Of course, a while back, their ferries were breaking down in Mombasa and they were trying to get the new ferries, and they had proposed, the government at the day had proposed, to bring in, let people pay for their passage. And it really brought a serious havoc, amongst the residents, because sometimes, people may not have any money. And, however well-meaning it was, because they were like, okay, this money should be used to maintain the ferries. But, right now with all the pilferage of public resources, so I would think there's money to fix these ferries, and that's why people should go for free. I mean, you don't need, it's not rocket science. If you look at the Auditor General report in Kenya saying, hey, all this money is missing from hospitals, this money missing for education, all this money being given to the president's private, supplementary budget, rising from maybe 4 billion and all the way to an inexplicable, maybe 17, 20 billion, right? A year, Kenya shillings, I'm trying to say. So a billion Kenya shillings roughly is like, $10 million. It's a lot of money. If someone is telling you, okay, we are going to use $40 million, but before you know it, they have blown a budget of $100 million. So I mean, I think the coastal residents are right on that, on the money. They should not pay. There are many activities, on Center Island, and they cater to all the demographic, because you have children, and then you have teenagers, then you have, adults, and then the senior residents. Well, for children, children, they get excited fast, and at the same time, they get bored real fast. So you have to occupy your children. Sometimes, adults forget. Even children have their own personalities. So for children, you find that, you can go with the children's bike or toys with them, from home, and go to the island, as you go for a picnic, and you can engage them with a couple of sports. If you don't have that, then you also have an option. There are those merry-go-rounds. There are those uh, swings. Then you also have like those rides, that go, those seated rides that go high up, in a loop. So you can have a good view maybe on some segments, some sections of the island, and so you also have, ball games. And it depends on how you want to engage the children. And the same thing, for adults, you can have lots of cycling, around the island. There's bike. If you don't have your own bike, you can rent one. I saw that as well. And then you also have those people who want to have those water sports like kayaking, or what you call canoeing. So there's this. So I saw a couple there. There was a couple who were in a canoe at the same time. It's a double, a canoe for two. So you have to learn how to synchronize the strokes. You don't want to paddle on one side and the other person is paddling on the left. So you have to go in a synchronized way, right? Both of you right, and then left, so you can keep the canoe steady, right? And then of course, if you have money, if you are moneyed, you see these private yachts, the motorized boats, but the private yachts are quite fascinating. They are not cheap. The private yachts are not cheap. And of course, with yachts, they go with different sizes, It's like Texas out here, the bigger the gun, the man with the bigger gun carries the day, of course. So there's that. Those are for private, people, and they may have even come from so far because I mean Lake Ontario is so large. And then there's also something else. You have these party boats that you pay a fee to enjoy. They take you around the island. There was one that caught my eye. It looked like a hat, those Dutch African hats, and it looked like it was floating in the water. So I was like, "What is this hat doing? That hat doing in the water?" Only to look closer, and I paid attention, and I saw they had a bartender inside, and there were revelers there. They were seated nice and easy. I think they were just enjoying and imbibing. They had a bartender there fixing their drink, and those guys were just making merry, real quiet, enjoying their time. Of course, then there are those ones who also like to have it loud. So they are bigger. Now this one much bigger yacht, bigger boat, and it had a DJ, loud music, and party people in there just going, yeah, and you feel like, oh, I want to swim across, like, walk on the water like Peter and just jump in there, and just have fun. Man, when I was looking at all these things, and I'm like, these are some of the things now. The residents, of Kisumu should have this. The residents of Naivasha should have this. The residents of Mombasa, you're in a coastal town. These are some of the touristic package that you can have. But the thing is, you have to know how to do, crowd control. It has to be real. You have to have safety, because this is in water. This is in water. You really need to have safety first. And real good crowd control management. So this, man, I went there and I felt real nice. Of course, on the center islands as well, we have the green lawns, stretches of green grass all over. Where I was situated, of course, I did not go to the beach. There is also a beach on. There are two kinds of beaches on Center Island. So you have one that's just have public access, where people would go in deep and come back to the shore and just play on the sandy beaches. But there is also an adult nude beach. So for people who like to frolic and let go and put their all to the sun and dry. Sometimes people say, "Oh, gotta hide, hide your belongings in a place where the sun don't shine." At that time, now you can go there and let the sun shine wherever it may. Anyway, hey, whatever floats your boat, literally, that is Toronto Center Island for you. Yeah, so I really had a nice time there. Of course, much later then, we left out there at dark. It even rained, but at least we managed to cut cake for our friend, and it was such a nice time. All these amenities in there. They have other things like toilets and everything, just to make your stay enjoyable and to preserve the environment. So these are some of the things, like when you look and you can say, these are the small things that have, these are things we can do. It does not need rocket science, but we have to be quite consistent. We have to be, deliberate, like on how we run our things. There's no slacking off. If you slack off, you go back to the manual. What does it say? And follow things to the letter. What does the law say? We follow things to the letter, and we'll have nice things. This is what I'm saying. This we always have nice things if and when we want. Yeah. So that was it about Center Island. I hope maybe next time we shall see you there. Or maybe you'll go there with your family and your loved ones and just have a good time. The other touristic destination that I've been to is the Niagara Falls. Now, this is the world famous Niagara Falls. It borders, Canada and the US. There's a side, the American side, and then you have the Canadian side of the Niagara Falls. Well, not to just dump, I'm sorry, Mr. Trump, but Canada has the better side of the Niagara Falls. I mean, even the Americans cannot see their own falls from their side. They have to cross over to Canada to just have a look. Yeah, you know. Maybe that's why he's giving us tariffs right, left, and center. But anyway, I digress. We have so many activities there, touristic activities. Uh, There you have zip lining. This is one of the things that I really, really wanted to do. I have not yet done that, but I'm pretty sure that in the future I'm gonna have that. But again, because of time. But what I did do, I did go to the cruise, the Niagara cruise, and when you go there, it's really exciting because for one, you can see, when you have that anticipation and you are looking down at and seeing the boats and people in blue and others in red. So at this point is when I realized, oh, the guys in the blue are on the American side. The Americans also have those touristic cruises. Just because, they may not have the better side does not mean, they are not making lemon, making lemonade with the lemons that they got. So there's those ferry cruises that take, they take turns and take tourists, to the foot of the Niagara Falls. And at this point is when they give you those raincoats, made of light plastic, those plastic bags to shield people from, because the waterfall there, it has this impact or this effect of feeling like you have light rain. And of course, when you get to the bottom of the fall now, you feel like it is raining, like, the splashing of the water, you feel like it is raining. That's at that point, that is when you realize, oh, how, my goodness, how powerful these, the falls, they have like tens of thousands of liters, pouring like every minute, it's just so much.
Record the falls!
See the waterfall there.
Now, of course, when you see the guys in red, those are us, the Canadians. So the Canadian, you have the Canadian ferries, and then of course the American side. And at this point, when you're riding these ferries, that's when you realize, the border, the Canadian and the American border, across that, the Niagara, the river. So at that point is when you realize, oh, okay, we are crisscrossing into the United States. So even for visitors who may not have like American visa, and you ride this boat for a moment, briefly, you cross into the United States. It was quite, you feel thrilled, you feel thrilled. And when you get to the foot of the fall, you feel really tiny, and people are shouting and making noise and just having a time of their lives. And of course, I could not even look up at some point because the water was coming in so hard, and I was feeling like, one of those long rains moment, in Africa, when you have such heavy rain that you cannot even look up. That is how it felt when we were at the foot of the, of course, the falls itself, But they conducted the ferry ride with so much professionalism. it was safe, and everyone just had a good time. And it is family friendly. We were on board even with a 5-week-year-old baby. So that is how well, like, you can go there. They allow even families with children. That is how safe it is. Like, you can go there, and they just take their time. They stall around, and then they turn the boat all around, so it doesn't matter which side of the boat you are in. Once they start to turn, like, everyone will just have their time to observe, the waterfalls. So you observe the American waterfalls, you observe the Canadian waterfalls up close. So that was a really nice time I spent there. Of course, the rides there are not free. The zip lining is not free. The boat cruises are not free, but just going there is free. You can access, you can view the on the sidelines, or walk along the river just to observe the Niagara Falls, And then one other thing that you'll notice is that there are uh, some historical plaques on all these, on the side. And you can see that initially the falls were used for hydroelectricity. That is so much water, right? But at some point, they shut them down, and now they are just like touristic, historical sites. So you can go in there, like they say, like, behind, you can walk behind the waterfalls. That is because of the engineering that was behind those turbines, right? So you can go there and see. Of course, they stopped the hydroelectric plants, and Canada now has nuclear facilities for making energy. Of course, not to be outdone, now you see, like, you on the other side of the American border, they had like this big, I think it's a helium balloon, and then it would roll up and down, maybe from a point of collection. And then also, this is something maybe I don't know, it's something that can be tried at the viewpoint in Kenya. There, when you're coming you're going from Nairobi and you're going to the Rift Valley, there's that viewpoint around, I think, the Muru area. So if it is constructed nicely, have something nice, you can, like, it something that has like an arm, like, like, or a balcony going into the like, it's going into the Rift Valley. You can walk in there and people can take photos. Of course, it has to be a really nice and farm structure. So for the Americans who cannot cross over to Canada, because initially before they would, but now, people demand passports and everything. So if you don't want all that hassle, the Americans, they have built like a platform that has like an arm, and it stretches like halfway into their side of the border, and people can walk there and walk into the arm, and now from there they can see, their own waterfall, which they cannot see, and they can now see also the Canadian side waterfall clearly, and much in a much better view, on much ease with much ease. So these are some of the ideas. Now, when you go there and you start to see, oh my goodness, these are touristic ideas. Of course, people have to invest in it. The Ministry of Tourism may need to do something about that. Oh yeah, they may need to do something about that. And of course, there's so much history about the Americans and Canada. There's a bridge connecting Canada and America, or right across the Niagara River there, and you will notice that they call it the Rainbow Bridge. So people can drive across into the United States and back. And of course, there is also the other issue of there's a duty-free shop. So people can also, you can go there and buy some nice whiskey, of course, duty-free. So there's always, there's that. So the Niagara area is really touristic, and they have many more things that you can do. So we were leaving Niagara. It was quite a hectic drive there, like 2.5 hours from Toronto and another like 2 hours going back, because everybody was going in there, you know. But there's something that is really nice developing a story that is coming up. Like uh, we shall be having that. Right now, they're running tests on a hovercraft that will be coming from the center, the lakefront, right off, like the center island now in Toronto, and they will be cutting across from the lakefront of Toronto all the way to the lakefront in Niagara. And that journey will be taking 30 minutes on a hovercraft. And I think that hovercraft can be having a capacity of maybe 30 to 50 people. I don't know how well that, but that is what is coming up. So I can't wait until when they have the hovercraft. I have to ride that one and bring it, and you shall see it here on Vidogo. So they will literally cut that journey, by more than, 2 hours or 1.5 hours. It will be really nice, and you can beat all the traffic going into the Niagara Falls. So that is all I had for you. Make sure you share and subscribe and enjoy the show. Please, we need more subscribers. So talk to your friends and tell their friends to be our friends by signing up and subscribing on our show. Until next time, Cabaret Karaoke. Peace.